if there's one thing Grinding Gear Games is known for, they're known for being receptive to the community and the player base and being consistent and reliable in their content. But ever since the release of Path of Exile 2, Grinding Gear Games has been unpredictable. Unpredictable in when we're going to get an update, unpredictable on when we're going to get a content drop, vis-a-vis whether it's Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2. Now, in today's video, I'm going to cover a recent update that we have received regarding the next league for Path of Exile and what that impact is going to have, according to my speculation, on Path of Exile 2's content drop. I have to say, opinions are loud and many. And whether you're talking about Path of Exile, the memes, they never end. Or whether you're talking about Path of Exile 2, everyone has an opinion. There's a lot of noise out there. But what I want to focus today's video on is what we just learned about 3.26, the next league in Path of Exile, the Legacy of Phrecia event, and that content drop, how it's going to impact Path of Exile 2. Now, here is the announcement. The Legacy of Phrecia is extended, and we also got information on a timeline for 3.26. Now, I'll cut to the chase. Basically, the Legacy of Phrecia event in PoE 1 is in full swing. Due to its popularity with the community, they're extending it by a month to April 23rd, but it even goes further than that. If you feel this extra month will not be enough to try out the builds you wanted, you'll be able to further experiment with Phrecia content in private league templates that they'll be making available, they being Grinding Gear Games, at no extra cost. And after the event on April 23rd, they're going to be adding these private league templates, which will be available for the whole month. And they go into the conditions of the private leagues. And the most important part of this is the fact that we finally have a timeline for 3.26. We would also like to share a tentative timeline for 3.26 expansion. They're looking forward to it, and it looks like it's going to be June. If you're a watcher of my content, you know in the past I've done several mock-ups on timelines, both for Path of Exile 1 and for Path of Exile 2. So in this video, and after this recent announcement of the Legacy Phrecia being extended a month, I say 2 months because we were March 23rd and now it's going to go to the end, April 23rd, and then another month of private leagues, and 3.26 not coming out until June. What impact is that going to have on Path of Exile 2 moving forward? I have my old timeline that we can now take a look at and see what with this new update, what I foresee the content cadence is going to be. And dare I say that Grinding Gear Games slowly is getting back into their predictability when it comes to them dropping content. This period from December till March has been, dare I say, very uneasy for the player base. There's been not a lot of content, not a lot of updates. Now, don't get me wrong, Grinding Gear Games has done their best to inform us, but their cadence has really fallen off. There's been a lot of periods of time where there's been complete radio silence, and even after that radio silence, when we do get something, it's just a little drip here and there. Now, some would argue that this recent announcement is just that, but regardless, let's get into what the timeline is going to look like in my estimation. All right, so this is my original Path of Exile 2 potential, Path of Exile 1 and 2 potential leak time frame. And as you can see here, we have the Legacy of Phrecia that we updated, that started on February 20th. It goes to March 23rd. Well, we know that has now changed. Now, at the time, we didn't have a date, and we still don't have a date for the major patch for Path of Exile 2, the first, point 2, sorry. We still don't know. I am speculating it's going to be Friday, March 28th, but hopefully it'll be sooner. We don't know. But I suspect March 28th, it's actually going to go live, and we'll probably get a full recap of everything to expect, if my date is right, on March 28th, probably 7 to 10 days before. And I'm sure they'll do some sort of, maybe they'll just drop it on the Path of Exile websites, or maybe they might even do a live reveal and reveal everything that's going on and what content is going to be in point 2. But this is what it looked like, and I was speculating 3.26 was going to be in April, late April, just because naturally the Legacy of Phrecia event has to end before 3.26 can start. So I had that in March, and then again, everything is a 3 months cadence, right? But so this is what it looked like back then. But I have since taken this information from the announcement we just got, and we now know 3.26 is actually going to drop in June. Legacy of Phrecia has been extended. And I propose to you my speculated guess on the timeline for Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2. So we know Legacy of Phrecia started in February. It was supposed to end March 23rd. It's now going to go till April 23rd. So we now have Legacy of Phrecia till April 23rd, and then it'll end on April 23rd, and we will have these private leagues for the month of May. And people will either play it or not play it. Now, again, PoE 2 patch point 2, sorry, it's a content update point 2. A big one, I'm speculating, that's going to be March 28th based on my assumptions. Again, guys, everything I'm saying here is my speculation. This is not graved in stone. So March 28th, Phrecia, April, private leagues, May, and sometime in June, probably the latter half, but who knows, 3.26 is finally going to drop, and Path of Exile is going to finally get a new league. It's going to go in a 3 months cadence. Now, depending on when in June 3.26 drops, obviously these could shift down 1 month, okay? But again, let's just stick that it's going to announce it's going to be going live in June. That's going to take us to August, and then 3.27. And again, Path of Exile now goes into its regular cadence. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but Jonathan always stated that he thought that Path of Exile 2 Early Access, they were going to do like 2 to 3 major content updates to realign, adjust the game to what's being, address all the issues that are in the game. For example, point 2, hopefully, is going to address a lot of the concerns that are out there. Now, we've gotten little tidbits, and the biggest one that obviously a lot of people are talking about is the update to the towers. And, they're doing an update that personally I don't think is going to resonate with the player base, but only time will tell. People don't want to do more in the tower. I think they want to do less, if I'm not mistaken. But again, time will tell. But that's one thing that they're addressing, and hopefully they're going to address a little bit more. We know also in some of the information updates that there's some more ascendancies coming and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're going to get an update on point 2. But if you go with the 1 month stagger, then if 3.26 drops in June, I would imagine we are going to get an update and a drop, and point 3 is going to come into play in Path of Exile 2. And then again, if this changes at all, everything shifts down a month in my estimation. But then 3.27, if they stay with that cadence, like if this is early June, then it ends in early August, late August, this stays true. But if this starts end of June, then it's going to go into September kind of thing, right? So everything shifts a month. But 0.3 and then 0.4 staggering with 3.27. Now, Path of Exile, I hope, starting June, gets into its normal league cadence. So that takes care of Path of Exile. I'm not going to get into the naysayers that say Path of Exile rip. They're not going to support it anymore. I'm not getting into that. I always will take the position that Grinding Gear Games is going to support both games, and they want both games to be successful. So I'm going to continue to say that until I see evidence that states otherwise. But then this gives Grinding Gear Games 3 major content updates, or if you really want to read the fine print, 3 opportunities, big opportunities to adjust and advance Path of Exile 2, fix the game to where it needs to be. I don't think anyone disagrees. The current version of Path of Exile 2 is going to look very different from what it is today to when it gets out of early access and goes into full release. Now, I have to say, I'm still sticking with Path of Exile 2 coming out of early access in December. I suspect, and I'm guessing, based on the information that we have, and based on the fact that I'm an optimist, that PoE 2 is going to come out of early access in December. But I have to say, I am really, really concerned about my estimate here. As more time evolves and as more time is being consumed between these major updates and a lot of radio silence, I have to say, I am really, really, my argument is on thin ice, and I recognize that, everyone. This is really the glass is half full kind of attitude, and but I'm staying true to it, and we'll see. I have to say, the next 3 to 4 months are going to be critical on establishing whether my guess is accurate or whether my guess is so far off. Only time will tell. But I'm sticking with them releasing, getting out of early access in December, but only time will tell. Okay, so some of you may care about this, some of you may not, but I am really fascinated because these topics that I covered in this video really give us an insight and explain and reveal certain things about the studio and the games that they're developing. It's going to be very curious, and I'm purposely keeping a timeline of this and the changes because I think after the fact, when we know, in retrospect, looking back and looking at how this evolved, I think it's going to give us, shed light on how Grinding Gear Games operates and how they're going to operate moving forward. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is not good times for Grinding Gear Games. I have to say, negative comments around Grinding Gear Games a year and a half ago were like an outlier. I never heard anything bad mentioned about them. But since the release of early access and Path of Exile 2, they have taken a big hit on their reputation. I'm getting a lot more comments, negative comments, a lot of people that are doubting them, a lot of people that tell me I'm crazy with this timeline. You're smoking a big one. This is going to be 2026, 2027, that kind of rhetoric, right? And who knows? They may be right. Only time will tell. It's been an eye-opener for me. I never thought I would see this day, but I do find it interesting even at its lowest point, Path of Exile 2 far exceeds the concurrent player count in Path of Exile. Now, I say that with a grain of salt just because we lived in a different world when Path of Exile 1 came out. So a lot of people play on standalone client and only a few jumped on. So if anyone has relevant, detailed information on how we can compare the two in a much more efficient way, please jump into the comments sections and let me know. I've been scouring the internet. Now, there are companies out there that do guesstimates on concurrent player counts for all video games. But again, you have to take those with a grain of salt. So if anyone has some valid factual information on how we can combine the numbers for all these video games, please let me know. I am super interested. Anyway, that will do it for my video, guys. Let me know what you think. What did you think? Are you happy for 3.26 June? Are you disappointed? Would you have just liked them to gone from Phrecia League to the 3.26 League? I bet a lot of people are going to say yes to that. Obviously, people want a new league in Path of Exile 1. So let me know what you think. And Path of Exile 2, people that played it, people that left, people that are still playing it, where do you think Path of Exile 2, do you believe grinding gear games can get out of this hole that they're in right now? Do you have confidence in them? I know I do. Yes, call me crazy. I firmly believe, because I don't see anything, I don't see any evidence otherwise, that they are going to make this right. They did it in Path of Exile 1. Path of Exile 1 was not perfect. They changed a lot of things. Endgame alone, they changed a million times. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but you get my point. And I think they're going to do the same thing in Path of Exile 2. Anyway, let me know what you think. Would love to hear your comments. And as always, if you can subscribe to my content, I would really appreciate the support. It would mean the world to me. And as always, we'll hope to see you next time. Take care. The opinions expressed in this video are mine and solely mine. Healthy debate is always encouraged. Hate is never welcomed. So get over it.